Example 1. Solve for the following. Here we have this here, and then before we even actually solve, let's go back. So before we can solve this equation, we must simplify the left and the right sides. And then, so the one way to do this is we can distribute, and then we're going to combine the like terms, and to distribute, we take the outside number and we're going ahead and multiply it to each of the numbers inside the parentheses. So let's go back to our example. So here we have our example, and we're going to need to distribute this 7 inside to each number inside the parentheses. So here and here. So how we do this is, we can first rewrite this. It's a little bit larger to see. So we're going to go ahead and first multiply the 7 times the 2x, which is just 7 times 2, which is 14, and then we have the x. Now we have 7 times this negative 6. So we have a negative here, and 7 times 6 is 42. Then we have a equal sign, then we have 5x plus 3. And we've done problems like this, so what we need to do now is get x to one side and the numbers to the other. So let's go ahead and subtract this 5x to both sides. This way it gets rid of it on the right hand side. We're going to bring down that 3 straight down. We have this minus 42, and now we have 14x minus 5x, which is just equal to 9x. The next thing we need to do is add 42 to both sides. Now this just becomes 0, and we're left with 9x here, and then we have 3 plus 42, which is 45. Now, to get rid of this 9 on the left-hand side, we just go ahead and divide. This just becomes 1 then. Now we have to do the right-hand side, and we go 45 divided by 9, which is equal to 5. So x equals 5 in this equation. So let's do another example. Example 2. Solve for the following. Here we have 3 times 8x plus 9 minus 3 times 2x plus 5. So we need to we need to distribute this 3, and then we need to distribute this negative 3. So let's go ahead and do the left-hand side first. So 3 times 8 is 24x. Now 3 times 9 is 27. Now remember, this negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Now negative 3 times positive 5 is minus 15. So our next step then, as we have now simplified it, is to get x's to one side. So let's go ahead and add 6 to both sides. It's going to get rid of it on the right hand side, and we're just left with negative 15. We have 27 here. Now 24 plus 6 is equal to 30, and we just leave it as x. Our next step is to subtract 27 to both sides. This gets rid of it here, so now it's just 0. So now we have 30x plus 0, which is equal to, now we can go negative 15 minus 27, which is equal to negative 42. So now we have 30x, which is equal to negative 42. I'm going to divide by 30 on both sides. So now this is just left as 1. So we have 1x, and we have negative 42 over 30, which we can leave as a fraction, but we need to simplify. So let's just go ahead and divide by 2 by the top and the bottom to simplify to negative 21 over 15. We also realize that 21 and 15 are both factors of 3, so we can reduce this further into negative 7 over 5. And this would be our solution. Let's look at another example. Example 3. Here we have two parentheses where we need to distribute a number, and we also need to simplify a little bit more. So let's go ahead and rewrite this real quick. Now let's go ahead and distribute this 7 to this 2x, which is equal to 7 times 2 is 14x. Then we have 7 times 6, which is minus 42. And then we have plus 2. Now we have 5x minus 1 plus, now we have 3 times 4x, which is 12x. Now we have 3 times 4, which is just 12. And we didn't have to worry about any negative signs because this wasn't attached to a negative sign. And so the next thing to do is to combine like terms before we start adding and subtracting to either side of the equal sign. So we notice on the left-hand side, we can add these two numbers together. Then on the right-hand side, we have a 5x and a 12x. So we're going to go ahead and do a little squigglies. So notice that we need to add those two together, and then we need to add these together on the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side, we just have 14x. Now we have minus 42 plus 2. So that is just equal to negative 40 equals now 5x plus 12x, as we need to add the x's together, is equal to 17x. Now we have negative 1 plus 12, which is equal to plus 11. Now we can go ahead and subtract this 14x to both sides. This gets rid of it here, this becomes 0. So we have negative 40 equals to 17 minus 14, which is 3x plus 11. So now we have negative 40 equals 3x plus 11. So now we need to subtract 11 on both sides to get rid of it on the right hand side, so we're left with just 3x, because our whole point is to get x all by itself. So now we have negative 40 minus 11, so that's just adding 40 plus 11 with a negative sign in front, which is just 51. Or we can go like this, negative 40 minus 11, which is equal to minus 51. And now the final step is to divide by 3, so this just becomes 1. So x is equal to negative 51 over 3. So let's see if we can now divide by 3, and we're left with x is equal to negative 17, and that would be our solution. Now let's do one final example. Now this one has decimals in it, so it's the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this 2 times this 4.95, then times this negative 2. So let's just go ahead and do that calculation. 4.95, which is equal to 9.9. Now 2 times negative 2 is minus 4, which is equal to 3.5x plus 4. So now we've simplified it, and we can go ahead and start adding and subtracting across the equal sign. Now notice we forgot the x, so let's go ahead and bring that down. Now we're going to go ahead and subtract this 3.5, it's smaller, to both sides. This gets rid of it on the right hand side, and now we're just left with 4 on the right hand side. Now we have a negative 4 here. We're going to bring our calculators out and go 9.9 minus 3 9.9 minus 3.5, which is equal to 6.4x. And then the next thing we need to do is add 4 to both sides. This gets rid of it on the left-hand side. Now we're left with just 6.4x. 4 plus 4 is 8. Now x then, when we do this just becomes a 1. So now we have x is equal to 8 over 6.4, which is just 1.25. And that would be our solution.